A month before our wedding, my fiancée told me she wanted to get a civil union with her high school sweetheart. Caleb has cancer, Ethan. He has less than a month to live. He just wants to give his family some peace of mind. Can't you stop being so insecure for once? I refused, but she went behind my back and did it anyway. It turned out my opinion never mattered to her. In that moment, the last thread of affection I held for her snapped. I packed my bags and accepted an invitation to a classified research facility effective immediately. After the wedding date passed, we would be strangers. 1 month before the wedding, my fiancée, Jessica, went to the courthouse with her white moonlight, Caleb Thorne. They announced it loudly on Instagram. In the photo, Jessica was nestled in Caleb's arms, holding the marriage license, smiling sweetly. The caption read, "We got married." Those 3 simple words nailed me to a pillar of shame. Friends flooded my phone with messages. Why did Jess marry Caleb? Isn't she your fiancé? Weren't you guys getting married in a month? Facing their confusion, I replied calmly, nothing happened. We broke up. Somehow, the news reached Jessica's ears. She called me, furious. Ethan Cole, what do you mean? What do you mean we broke up? Did I agree to that? Didn't you marry Caleb? Did you expect me to be the other man? This enraged her. She screamed through the phone. How can you be so heartless? Caleb has cancer. He's dying. He just wanted to give his family closure. Besides, he saved my life once. I'm just repaying a debt. Why do you have to be so petty? Didn't I tell you? Didn't you accept it? I almost laughed out loud. Notification? So it wasn't a discussion? And when did I ever agree to this? I asked her, when did I agree to let you marry another man? Jessica paused. She clearly hadn't expected me to push back. We had been together for so long, and I had always accommodated her. It was no wonder she thought I had agreed. In her mind, I should always just go along with whatever she wanted. But why should I? What did you say? Are you talking back to me? Ethan, do you even care about me anymore? Jessica lowered her voice to a harsh whisper. She took a deep breath. Ethan, I'm at the hospital right now. I don't want to fight. Go make some food for Caleb and bring it over. Remember, nothing spicy. We'll talk when I get back. Jess, what are you doing? Cough, cough. I feel dizzy. Can you call the doctor? Caleb's weak voice drifted from the other end of the line. Jessica's voice instantly turned tender. Caleb, what's wrong? I'm calling the doctor right now. The next second, the line went dead. Jessica had gone to take care of him. I stared at the disconnected screen, and the last bit of hope in my heart vanished. I had once offered my heart with both hands, thinking that if I gave enough, Jessica would eventually love me. But now I realized that sincerity was the most useless thing in the world. It couldn't trade for anything. It wasn't until the afternoon that Jessica called again. Ethan, where's the food I asked you to bring? Why haven't you cooked it yet? I hung up. I didn't want to deal with her. It was the first time Jessica had ever been hung up on by Ethan Cole. Unconvinced, she called again and again until her phone died. She threw her phone onto the hospital bed in frustration. Ethan actually dared to hang up on her. Just because she legally married Caleb, he was being so calculating. Not long after, I received a text from Caleb. Ethan, how does it feel to have your fiancée marry someone else? Must be comfortable, huh? This is just the beginning. I have an even bigger surprise waiting for you. Immediately after, I received a photo of a pregnancy test report. I opened it. It was Jessica's. She was 3 weeks pregnant. I hadn't even touched Jessica in months. It went without saying whose child this was. 3 weeks ago, that was exactly when we had a fight, and she didn't come home all night. No wonder she had been avoiding me during that time. I had foolishly thought she was just angry with me, throwing a tantrum. Turns out she was cheating. Guilt, plain and simple. No wonder she was in such a rush to marry Caleb. She was pregnant. How about it? Do you like a surprise? Ethan, you are a total failure. You can't even keep your own woman. What use are you? In that instant, I felt the world spin. Jessica had always said she hated irresponsible behavior, like premarital sex. Can we wait until we're married? She had asked. Back then, I thought she just valued tradition, so I didn't press it. Turns out, she didn't have a problem with sex. She just didn't like doing it with me. About a month ago, Jessica and I had argued over Caleb. She wanted to go to the hospital to take care of him. I was worried about her, so I disagreed. We can hire a nurse for him. You don't need to go personally, do you? Besides, you're my fiancé. What does it look like running off to care for another man? I tried to reason with her, but in Jessica's eyes, it was just me restricting her freedom and being jealous of Caleb. Ethan, Caleb is sick. What's wrong with me taking care of him? How can a nurse care for him like a friend can? Besides, this is my freedom. What does it have to do with you? We aren't married yet, and you're already trying to control me. I sighed. Jess, this isn't about freedom. You're my fiancé. running off to take care of another man. You make me look. Enough, enough. I get it. You just care about your own face. Or you're jealous of Caleb. I never thought you were this kind of person. Let me tell you, Caleb is the person I love the most. You have to agree today, whether you like it or not. Jessica's words stunned me. She actually said Caleb was the person she loved most. What about me? What am I? You go take care of him, but what about me? I'm your fiancé. Have you ever considered my feelings? I pointed to my chest and asked her. Jessica froze, a trace of guilt flashing across her face. I'm not wasting time with you here. She grabbed her bag and left. I watched her back disappear from my sight bit by bit until she was gone. That day, I didn't even know how I fell asleep. I vaguely heard my phone ringing. I subconsciously pressed the answer button, and a brisk female voice came from the other side. Ethan, regarding the professor's research. We really need people right now. I shouldn't be disturbing you, but we are short-handed. Look, can you come? I jolted upright in bed, the drowsiness instantly vanishing. Professor Sterling's project. Didn't that start 6 months ago? I asked. Sarah Vance sighed. Due to some issues, the project hasn't made any phased progress. Hearing this, I fell silent. 6 months ago, Professor Sterling received a directive to develop a new project. Since it was the first exploration in this field, it received high attention from the state. Back then, the professor thought of me first. He found me and earnestly persuaded me. Ethan, you are one of my proudest students. I hope you can join. This is a great thing for you and for the country. At that time, immersed in the joy of being with Jessica, I refused him. The professor was very regretful about my rejection. He tried to keep me again and again. Ethan, think clearly. This is a rare opportunity. Once successful, you will be one of the youngest national scholars. I shook my head. Once the project started, contact with the outside world would be cut off. I wouldn't be able to go home for a year or more. I'm sorry, Professor. I don't want to be away from Jess for that long. The professor sighed, hating that iron wouldn't become steel. Ethan, are you sure you want to throw all your energy into dating? This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. When the research is successful, you can marry her then. Wouldn't you be able to marry her with even more honor? Or is your partner unwilling? I still shook my head. I haven't told her. I'm the one who doesn't want to leave her. The professor finally gave up. Ethan, you're not a child anymore. I respect your decision. Since then, I hadn't been in contact with the professor. Until today, when Sarah called me. Hello. Ethan, have you thought about it? Sarah's voice pulled me back to reality. I sighed. Naturally, I am willing to go, but I'm afraid the professor won't want to see me. Sarah let out a sigh of relief. That doesn't matter. The professor is tough on the outside, but soft on the inside. As long as you come, he will definitely welcome you. This sentence gave me great comfort. Yes, that was my most respected teacher. Worst case, I get scolded again. Thinking of this, I agreed. Okay, Sarah, when do I leave? Originally, the sooner the better, but aren't you getting married? Why don't you? Discuss it with your fiancé first. After all, it will take at least 3 to 5 years to come back. Can you give me an answer in 2 weeks? I nodded excitedly, then realized Sarah couldn't see me. Okay, it won't take 2 weeks. I can give you an answer tonight. Sarah laughed and instructed me. Make sure you talk it over nicely with your fiancé. Then she hung up. After the call, I started packing. 2 weeks was enough for me to arrange everything and leave. When Jessica came back that evening, she saw the closet was half empty. She frowned at me. Ethan, what are you fussing about now? I've told you countless times, Caleb, and I only did this to satisfy his family. Can you stop being so petty? I continued packing the luggage in my hands and said lightly, yeah, I know. I understand you. Jessica was surprised. This was the first time since she proposed marrying Caleb that I had discussed it so calmly. You figured it out. I nodded. Yeah, it's your freedom. I have no right to interfere. I was being self-righteous before. From now on, I won't control you anymore. Jessica frowned. She felt Ethan was acting weird today, but before she could think about it, she was called away by a phone call. Ms. Miller, bad news. Your husband fainted in the hospital. He needs surgery now. Please come immediately. Jessica hung up and rushed to the hospital in a frenzy. Before leaving, she didn't forget to instruct me. We'll talk when I get back. I have to go to the hospital. I just went along with her. Yeah, hurry. Before I finished speaking, Jessica was gone. Whenever it involved Caleb, she was always so attentive. Indeed, people are treated differently. I remembered when I was hospitalized. Jessica only left me with a casual sentence. There are doctors and nurses in the hospital. If that's not enough, I'll hire a caregiver. I have my own things to do. Where would I find the time to take care of you? But when it came to Caleb, suddenly doctors nurses and caregivers weren't enough. I met Jessica in college. Before that, she and Caleb had been a couple. But later, Caleb said he couldn't stand a long-distance relationship, so they broke up. Actually, saying broke up wasn't accurate. It was more like Caleb started a unilateral Cold War. Jessica kept pestering him until Caleb started seeing a new girlfriend. After Jessica found out, she was in a daze, often getting drunk in the small bistro where I worked part-time. That's how we met. At that time, I felt mostly pity and curiosity toward her. How could anyone bear to hurt such a good girl? We stayed out of each other's business, doing our own things. The turning point was late one night, when Jessica drank herself into unconsciousness. Not far from her, a few thugs were eyeing her maliciously. That chick is unique. Wonder what she tastes like. I'll go test the waters for you guys. One of the guys, a redhead, carried a glass of liquor to Jessica. Sister, drinking alone? Want Big Brother to keep you company? He started getting handsy. Even drunk, Jessica instinctively resisted. But her strength was small, and in the eyes of those men, it looked more like flirting. Hey, what are you doing? I spoke up to stop Red. Red frowned, looking at me with displeasure. None of your business. You bored or something? Why meddle? I looked at Red and put down the glass in my hand. I am Professor Sterling's student. Professor Sterling, my mentor, his son was the chief of police in Seattle. The chief was upright and cracked down hard on criminals. And my teacher was famously protective of his own. Red hesitated for a moment. Prove it. I took out my university ID and tossed it to him. Here, my ID. If you still don't believe me, you can go ask at my school. Red looked at the ID carefully and threw it back to me. What is this woman to you? You aren't lovers, right? I looked at the unconscious Jessica and casually made up a lie. My sister. Red sneered. Your sister? What's her name? This stumped me. I looked at Jessica and made up a name. My distant cousin. Red left, half believing, half doubting. For the chief's sake, I'll let you off. After they left, I stayed with Jessica in the bistro until she sobered up. Since then, our relationship gradually became familiar. Until Jessica confessed to me. She said she liked me and asked if I could give her a chance. Looking at the girl's blushing cheeks, I nodded. Just like that, we were together. Jessica always liked to tease me about the lie I told to help her out. She kept calling me cousin until my ears turned red. She would lean her face in front of mine and ask, why didn't you say I was your girlfriend back then? Or that you were chasing me? Whenever she asked, I would blush. But Jessica was relentless and insisted on getting an answer. If I said that, they might not have believed it. Besides, that kind of thing is bad for your reputation. Hearing this, Jessica smiled brilliantly. Seeing her smile, my heart felt warm too. I thought I could help her walk out of the shadow of Caleb. But I overestimated myself and underestimated Jessica's feelings for Caleb. She hadn't forgotten him. Instead, hearing he was sick, she wanted to take care of him regardless of everything. Because of a word from him, she gave up our years of relationship and secretly registered a marriage with him. She even got pregnant with his child. The next morning, Jessica came back exhausted. She looked at me and ordered, make me a bowl of millet porridge. I'm going to sleep for a while. I have to go to the hospital later. I ignored her, busy with the matters of the classified lab. Seeing me ignore her, Jessica surprisingly didn't lose her temper. She just told me not to overthink things as usual. Watching her leave, it would be a lie to say I wasn't sad. Originally, we could have gotten married tomorrow. I had even picked out the style for the wedding photos. But now she had a family, a child. What did that leave me? For a word from Caleb, she decisively abandoned me. It was obvious whether she loved me or not. There was no need for me to continue exhausting myself in this relationship. By the way, I have something to discuss with you, Jessica said. She stopped and turned to look at me, her eyes dodging mine. What is it? I looked at her. It probably wasn't good news. Well, regarding tomorrow's wedding photo shoot. Can we not go for now? Caleb, Jessica looked at me. Sure, I interrupted her. Whatever you say. Jessica was irritated by my attitude. What do you mean by that? I looked at her. Nothing. Jessica finally noticed my luggage. What are you doing? I perfunctorily said, oh, just packing up some clothes I don't use. Sure enough, when you don't love someone, lies come easy. Jessica frowned. You have that many useless clothes? Yeah, plus some old clothes from before. Packing them all. I looked up at her. Aren't you going to rest? Jessica reacted. Yeah, Caleb has an exam tomorrow. I need to rest well today to accompany him tomorrow. I nodded. Got it. She had already made her decision. Why should I worry blindly? Jessica went back to the bedroom. Before leaving, she didn't forget to remind me. The wedding photo shoot tomorrow is off. I looked at the calendar on the desk. Under tomorrow's date, wedding photos was written in big marker strokes. Although I didn't know why Jessica wanted to cancel the shoot, I didn't plan to go through with the wedding anyway. Even if she hadn't said it, I would have found an excuse to cancel. Her bringing it up saved me a lot of trouble. I nodded. Okay, I'll call the photographer to cancel. As soon as the words fell, Jessica froze. She hadn't expected me to agree so readily. She thought I would ask for reasons. After all, I had spent a long time researching every detail of the wedding. I had even paid a huge price to get this specific photographer to squeeze us in just to get the perfect photos. But she didn't expect me to agree calmly after she spoke. Jessica looked at me with a complicated expression. Don't cancel it. Caleb said he probably won't get the chance to marry in this life. He wants to take wedding photos with me. It'll count as him having been married, so he won't have regrets later. Let Caleb take the photos with me tomorrow. We can make up our photos later. Jessica's tone was as light as if she were discussing what to eat today, just like a month ago when she said she wanted to marry Caleb to give his parents closure. On the surface, it was a discussion. In reality, every word revealed she had already made the decision and was just notifying me. My lowered eyes hid the sarcasm in them. Later, she didn't know I would only remain in this city for 13 more days. She didn't know we had no later. I whispered, okay, then went back to the bedroom to rest. Since the wedding wasn't happening, it didn't matter to me who Jessica took photos with. Jessica looked at my back, inexplicably feeling uneasy. I was too calm. Not even a single question. It made all her prepared excuses useless. But then Caleb called. She threw her doubts to the back of her mind and went to the balcony to answer. When I woke up, it happened that Jessica was heading out. She instructed me while putting on her shoes. After the photo shoot, Caleb and I plan to travel for a few days. He's always wanted to go to Iceland to see the Northern Lights. I'll go with him. Just keep the wedding simple. I don't have time for rehearsals or setup. You decide everything. No need to ask me. I swallowed my toast and replied, okay, keep everything simple. This wedding would have no photos, no guests, no officiant, and no groom. Seeing me silently eating breakfast, Jessica added, after the wedding, let's go to Europe for our honeymoon. I remember you always wanted to go. If it were before, hearing Jessica propose a honeymoon would have made me start planning excitedly. After all, whenever I wanted her to travel with me, she never agreed, saying she didn't like it and found travel tiring. Now I just focused on eating my bread, saying nothing. Jessica looked at me with some surprise. She wanted to say something more, but seeing the clock on the wall, she rushed out the door, leaving only a "we'll talk when I get back." I picked up the calendar on the table and drew a big X through the words wedding photos. 12 days left. After breakfast, I started packing my things and clearing out unnecessary items from the apartment. Photo albums with less than 5 pictures, the projector gathering dust, the matching pajamas never worn once. Together for 5 years, every item in the house was something I had carefully selected and added bit by bit, gradually turning an empty house into a warm home. But looking closely, Jessica had never used many of these things. She said even if we were dating, she was an independent individual and didn't like matching items. It made her feel tied down. Since they would be an eyesore to her after I left, I might as well clear them out now. Destroy our memories, all of them. For the next week, Jessica didn't come back. But I knew exactly what she was doing, thanks to Caleb, who loved posting everything on social media. It was hard not to know. They went to hot springs, looked at the sea, took photos with the sunrise. In his posts, I saw a different Jessica again. Turns out, she could act like a normal girl in love. Just not with me. I didn't pay much attention to where they went or what they played. I just glanced at it and scrolled past. I wasn't idle these past few days. There was too much stuff in the house. It took me days to clear it out completely. I also took time to visit my parents, telling them I was going to the lab soon and would only be able to contact the outside world after a long time. Dad was surprised. You and Jess are getting married soon. Won't you be separated? Mom looked worried too, holding my hand to persuade me. Son, think this through. You and Jess worked hard to get to this point. I'm afraid if you go to the lab, Jess won't agree, and then your wedding. I understood my parents. They had seen my persistence with Jessica all these years and knew her attitude toward me. Before I proposed, they had gently advised me to reconsider, thinking I didn't weigh much in her heart. But back then, I felt confident I could change her, make her fully accept me. So they agreed. Now, approaching the wedding, they worried that if I left, Jessica would cancel the wedding and break up with me. They were afraid I would be hurt. But the one canceling the wedding now was me. I told them about canceling the wedding, and they were silent for a long time. I didn't tell them Jessica was pregnant with another man's child, fearing they couldn't handle the blow. I just said I wanted to continue contributing to scientific research. Dad sighed, patted my shoulder, and said as long as I didn't regret it. I nodded. After returning home, I asked my childhood friend, Mike Ross, to help me throw out all the packed stuff. Cardboard boxes piled up in the living room, taking up a lot of space. After throwing them out, the room suddenly became empty. Mike looked a bit emotional. I didn't expect you to be for real, man. I thought you were joking about canceling the wedding. I watched you chase after Jessica for so many years. What happened? He tossed me a can of beer and opened one for himself. Maybe because I was leaving soon, I had the urge to confide. I told Mike everything that had happened in the past month, including that Jessica was pregnant with Caleb's child. Mike had witnessed everything between Jessica and me. After listening, he swore loudly. You treated her so well, and she cheats on you right before the wedding, and expect you to be okay with it? What the hell is she thinking? I shook my head and smiled self-deprecatingly. Who knows? She says Caleb is her savior, and she has to fulfill all his wishes. Mike looked indignant. You save her life too. Why does she treat you like this? I took a sip of beer and didn't speak. Maybe she just didn't love me. But it didn't matter. Soon, I would leave her. 5 days into the countdown, I resigned from the university. I had originally turned down my mentor's offer to keep doing experiments just to be with Jessica, choosing to be a teacher instead. Colleagues were surprised. Why are you quitting, mister? Cole, you gave us wedding candy a few days ago. Are you going home to be a house husband? Your wife is so lucky. Some colleagues teased. I held my box of things and smiled. No, the wedding is canceled. When I opened the door to the apartment, I saw Jessica and Caleb, whom I hadn't seen for a week. Jessica instinctively asked when she saw me holding things, "What are you doing with that stuff?" I made up an excuse. Just some useless stuff I brought back. Jessica nodded. She wanted to say something, but was interrupted by Caleb. Ethan, thanks for letting Jess accompany me on the trip these past few days. And thanks for agreeing to let her take wedding photos with me to fulfill my dream. How about I treat you guys to dinner? Consider it a thank you for taking care of me. I might have to trouble you guys for a while longer. I hope you don't mind, Ethan. Looking at the provocation in his eyes, I guessed he was getting impatient. After all, from the moment I received the pregnancy test until now, I hadn't shown any reaction, hadn't even questioned Jessica. But I didn't want to engage in meaningless fights with him. Seeing I didn't answer, Caleb sounded hesitant. Jess, is Ethan unhappy? After all, you guys are getting married, but... Hearing Caleb's words, Jessica immediately frowned, blaming me unhappily. Caleb sincerely wants to thank us. Why the long face? It's just a meal. He won't poison you. You have to go. And you're a grown man. Stop being so petty. I hadn't said a word, yet in Jessica's mouth, I was already defined as a sinner. In the end, I was dragged to the restaurant by Jessica. The waiter asked what we wanted to order. I just opened the menu when I heard Jessica speak. Nothing greasy or spicy. No cilantro in any of the dishes. When the food arrived, Jessica considerately put food into Caleb's bowl. Then she pushed a plate of prawns toward me. Caleb can't eat seafood right now. This is ordered specifically for you. Looking at the plate of prawns, I instantly lost my appetite and put down my chopsticks. I'm allergic to seafood. How ridiculous. In love for 5 years, Jessica didn't know I was allergic to seafood, yet she knew Caleb's dietary restrictions clearly. She even remembered details like no cilantro. Jessica obviously didn't know. For a moment, she looked blank. When she looked at me again, her eyes showed a rare trace of guilt, and she added a few more dishes. But I didn't touch my chopsticks again for the rest of the meal, just silently drinking water. Walking down the steps after dinner, I received a call from Sarah again. Ethan, the professor wants me to confirm again. You want to follow the normal experiment schedule, right? The first experiment involves a classified project. You might not be able to contact the outside world for a year or two. My gaze fell on Jessica and Caleb in front of me. They walked side by side. When going down the steps, Jessica would involuntarily place her hand on her stomach. My voice was extremely calm. Confirmed. Sarah sighed with relief. Good. The professor was afraid you couldn't bear to leave your wife. I withdrew my gaze and turned to walk the other way. The wedding is canceled. I'm ready to leave. As soon as the words fell, a puzzled voice came from behind. Who is leaving? Jessica had just put Caleb in the car when she heard the last few words. I realized she hadn't heard the beginning, so I made up an excuse. My friend is leaving soon. Jessica nodded and didn't ask further. 4 days into the countdown, Jessica brought back the wedding photos of her and Caleb. She held her phone in one hand, video chatting with Caleb, and displayed the framed photo to him with the other, smiling sweetly. Caleb, our wedding photos are developed. When I went to pick them up, the staff said they turned out great. I happened to come out to get water when she said this. A flash of awkwardness crossed Jessica's eyes. She looked at me, wanting to say something. I glanced at the photo and commented earnestly, "It does look good." Jessica was stunned. She suddenly realized I hadn't talked to her properly in a long time. Even during the week she was traveling with Caleb, I hadn't sent a single message. This made her unaccustomed. In the video, Caleb was still talking nonstop. She shook her head, assuming I was just tired from preparing for the wedding. 2 days into the countdown, I realized that once inside the lab, I had to bring everything myself, so I needed to prepare some common medications. I went to the hospital to get some medicine. Unexpectedly, I ran into Jessica and Caleb, who had just finished a prenatal checkup. Jessica opened her mouth to speak, but Caleb beat her to it. He walked up to me and looked like he was about to kneel. "Ethan, I know you haven't agreed to Jess being pregnant yet, but I really can't wait. The doctor says I have at most a year left. I want to see the child born with my own eyes. Once the baby is born, I'll take it away immediately. It absolutely won't affect your relationship with Jess." Before I could speak, Jessica pulled him up, eyes full of distress. "Your health is bad. How can you do this?" Then she looked at me. "Since you know, I won't hide it from you. Don't worry. The pregnancy is early. It won't affect our wedding. If it were me a month ago, I might have been angry, broken, desperate, sinking into self-doubt, suspecting if I, the boyfriend, had failed somewhere to make Jessica willingly carry another man's child. But after this period, I had figured it out. It wasn't that I wasn't good enough. She just didn't love me. Because she didn't love me, she could do this without caring about my feelings. Now I knew Jessica's news long ago and had let go of all feelings for her. So there was no need for them to act like I was breaking up a loving couple. I looked at them indifferently. I know, after speaking, I took my medicine and prepared to go back. The day of departure was approaching. I needed to organize my luggage again. They clearly hadn't expected me to be so calm. Especially Jessica. She looked at my retreating back with a complicated expression. Clearly, I had made a fuss for a month about her marrying Caleb, but now knowing she was pregnant, I had no reaction. Inexplicably, Jessica felt a trace of unease. Just as I reached the stairwell, Caleb, who had chased after me, grabbed my sleeve. Jessica was still far behind. Caleb revealed his true colors. "Ethan Cole, how does it feel to raise another man's child? Your woman is carrying someone else's seed while holding a wedding with you. I guess only you could tolerate that." I didn't want to get into a meaningless argument with him. I threw off his hand and prepared to leave. Unexpectedly, as soon as I applied force, his body tilted and fell backward. I instinctively grabbed his hand to stop him from falling. But before I could let go, an angry rebuke came from behind. "What are you doing?" Jessica arrived. Caleb immediately switched to a wronged expression. "Jess, I just wanted to thank Ethan for being so generous, but I didn't expect him to." Hearing Caleb's words, Jessica's face darkened instantly. "Ethan, I never thought you were this kind of person." Apologized to Caleb immediately. Hearing her indiscriminate accusation, I couldn't help but laugh in anger. Me apologize? Go check the surveillance cameras yourself and see if I should apologize or if you should thank me. I hadn't expected Jessica to decide I wanted to push Caleb down the stairs without even checking the footage. Caleb is a sick patient. Would he intentionally hurt his own body? Panic flashed in Caleb's eyes. "Forget it, Jess. It's normal for Ethan to be angry and treat me like this. Let's go." Jessica refused. "No, he must apologize to you today." I didn't budge an inch. I wouldn't admit to something I didn't do. Caleb, worried that Jessica would actually check the surveillance if she kept persisting, covered his stomach and said he didn't feel well. Jessica's angry face instantly turned to worry. She quickly supported Caleb to find a doctor. I watched their retreating figures, an endless bitterness spreading in my heart. 20-some years of companionship, 5 years of day and night closeness, couldn't exchange for a shred of trust from Jessica. Fortunately, I was awake now and could pull myself out in time. The last day before leaving, Jessica didn't come back. I assumed she was busy taking care of the relapsed Caleb. I shipped my packed luggage to the lab, leaving only a backpack. At night, Jessica returned. Her face still carried anger. "Caleb is still lying in the hospital. He's a patient. Can't you be a little generous and yield to him? Why do you have to be so petty?" Generous? I felt I had been plenty generous. I gave up my suit and the photographer for him to take wedding photos. I gave up the woman who was about to become my wife to bear his child. Now, I was giving up the position next to Jessica to him too. Jessica noticed the big red circle on the calendar out of the corner of her eye, and her expression softened a lot. "Fine, we're getting married tomorrow. I won't argue with you. After the wedding, go apologize to Caleb. Then we'll go on our honeymoon." I didn't respond. If Jessica had paid even a little attention, she would have found there were no wedding decorations in the apartment at all. Before I could confess, Jessica's phone rang. Caleb's voice came from the other end. Jessica's expression became tense. "Wait there, I'm coming right now." After hanging up, Jessica immediately got up and walked toward the door. Caleb isn't feeling well. I'm going to check on him. I'll be back before the wedding. Remember to wait for me tomorrow morning. Only after the sound of the door closing did the words swirling in my mouth come out. Let's break up, Jessica. The wedding is canceled. The voice dissipated in the empty room. Only the clock on the wall ticked. I sat in the living room from night until dawn, watching the outside turn from dark to light. My phone buzzed with a reminder. 3 hours until boarding. I got up, walked into the bedroom, took out the already packed backpack, and took out a marker. On the calendar, I drew a big X over the heavily circled 10th, and I wrote a sentence. Jessica, let's break up. I placed the calendar in the most conspicuous spot, shouldered my backpack, went out, and hailed a taxi to the airport. Goodbye, Jessica. On the other side, Jessica only left the hospital after Caleb's condition stabilized. Walking on the road, she sent a message to Ethan, asking if the wedding preparations were ready and saying she was on her way to the hotel. But until Jessica got in the car, she didn't receive a reply. She opened her phone to ask again, only to find their last message was from 2 weeks ago. Jessica scrolled up through the chat history. It was almost entirely white bubbles, her side. Sometimes Ethan asked what to eat. Sometimes he asked for her opinion on the wedding. But Jessica's replies were all simple. Whatever, fine, you decide. Ethan never seemed affected, continuing to message her every day. But for the past 2 weeks, there had been no communication between them. A strangeness crossed Jessica's heart. Why hadn't he messaged her for so long? Thinking of this, Jessica's mind involuntarily flashed back to a month ago when she told Ethan about marrying Caleb and being pregnant, the disbelief in his eyes. Knowing him for years, that was the first time she saw such a painful expression on his face. It was also the first time he showed such intense opposition to her words. But after that, he only firmly disagreed with marrying Caleb. In other aspects, he remained the same. It seemed that since 2 weeks ago, the last time she proposed marrying Caleb in front of him, they had lost communication. Ethan not only stopped messaging her, but even at home, he rarely spoke to her actively. The more Jessica recalled, the more uneasy she felt. Her heart pounded. Something bad seemed about to happen. While comforting herself that Ethan was just acting this way because of the busy wedding preparations, she told the driver to speed up. Jessica looked at her phone. Still no reply. Her hand holding the phone tightened involuntarily. When she arrived at the hotel, several of her good friends and family had already arrived. They were gathered together discussing something. Seeing Jessica, they immediately surrounded her. Jessica's mother frowned at her daughter, who had arrived in a hurry. Jess, why aren't you even wearing your wedding dress? Where is Ethan? Didn't he come with you? Friends saw she was alone and asked in confusion. Yeah, where is the groom? And why hasn't the bride changed yet? Hearing that they hadn't seen Ethan either, panic rose in Jessica's heart. Last night, before leaving, she clearly told him to come directly to the wedding venue in the morning. Where was he now? Did he go to the banquet hall first? Jessica forced a smile. Ethan should be in the banquet hall, overseeing the setup. After speaking, she prepared to rush to the banquet hall. But then she remembered she didn't even know which hall the wedding was in. Ethan hadn't told her, and she had never asked. The people around her knew even less. Otherwise, they wouldn't be waiting in the hotel lobby. Jessica had to grab a passing staff member to ask, "Excuse me, which banquet hall did Mr. Ethan Cole book?" The staff member took out the registry, flipped through it, and replied politely, "Mr. Cole booked Hall 3. Jessica sighed in relief. She was overthinking it. He had just been too busy recently. When they went on their honeymoon, she would make an exception and buy him a gift to reward him for his hard work on the wedding. However, the next second, the staff member saw the note in the last column and spoke again in confusion. But Mr. Cole called 2 weeks ago to cancel the reservation. He said the wedding was canceled. The staff member's words hit everyone present like a heavy hammer. Jessica's mind went blank. What did he mean? The wedding was canceled. Jessica took a step back, shaking her head in disbelief. How could it be canceled? 2 months ago when he proposed, she could see the joy on his face that he couldn't hide. How could he cancel the wedding? Friends and family around were even more confused. They hadn't remembered the date wrong. So why was the wedding canceled? After confirming with the staff again that Ethan had indeed canceled the wedding, Jessica's mother suppressed her anger and pulled Jessica aside. What is going on with Ethan? Wasn't the date set long ago? Not only did he not show up today, but he canceled the wedding 2 weeks ago? What does he mean by this? Seeing her daughter looking equally shocked, her mother was even angrier. She knew Ethan had known her daughter for years and saw his feelings for Jessica, so she felt safe handing her daughter to him. But she never expected the groom to be a no-show and to have canceled everything weeks in advance without them knowing. Call him right now. Ask him if he wants this marriage or not. Jessica snapped out of her daze and took out her phone to call Ethan. Her hands trembled as she dialed. But by this time, Ethan was already on a flight to D.C. The call wouldn't connect. Only a cold, mechanical voice came from the receiver. Jessica's heart sank. Everything was fine yesterday. Why was he suddenly unreachable today? She couldn't take it anymore and rushed home immediately, holding onto a sliver of hope. But when she pushed open the door, the house was silent. Clearly, Ethan wasn't there. Suddenly, she noticed the photo frame that used to be on the table was gone. It held one of the few photos of her and Ethan together. He had always treasured that photo, wiping the frame clean every day. Not only that, his razor in the bathroom, his clothes in the closet, everything related to Ethan was gone. Jessica suddenly remembered when she and Caleb returned from their trip. The apartment had seemed much emptier. It seemed the photo frame had been missing since then. But back then, she only vaguely felt something was missing. Plus, Ethan said he cleared out some unnecessary things, so she didn't mind. Only now did she realize Ethan hadn't cleared out unnecessary things. He had cleared out all his belongings and their memories. Even he himself had vanished without a trace. Jessica's eyes were filled with confusion. Where did he go? Why did he do this? Her gaze continued to search the room hopelessly until she saw writing on the desk calendar. She rushed over and picked it up. 5 words greeted her eyes. Jessica, let's break up. In that instant, Jessica felt like she had been struck by lightning. The thought she had vaguely guessed was now confirmed. Ethan really wanted to break up with her. But why? They were getting married today. She knew this had been his wish for years. How could he bear to give it up? Amidst the chaotic thoughts, the image of Ethan's overly calm face before she left appeared in her mind. It seemed he had wanted to say something to her then, but she had been too busy rushing to the hospital to see Caleb and didn't listen. Before the door closed, she had glimpsed him sitting on the sofa. There was no joy for the upcoming wedding, nor anger at her leaving to see Caleb. He was as calm as stagnant water. So last night, what Ethan wanted to say was break up. Jessica collapsed onto the sofa weakly, her thoughts a tangled mess. The phone on the coffee table kept ringing. Parents and friends were calling, but she had no energy to answer. She couldn't figure out why Ethan broke up with her. According to the staff, he canceled the wedding 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. Jessica suddenly remembered. 2 weeks ago was the day she found out she was pregnant with Caleb's child. That day, she had planned to bring up the civil marriage again. But Caleb texted her the results. Joy rushed to her head, and she hurried to the hospital. Memories of the past 2 weeks surfaced clearly. Canceling the photo shoot, the trip with Caleb. Ethan's attitude had been indifferent the whole time. If it were before, he would have fought with her. Jessica panicked, confused. Had he been planning to leave since then? But he knew Caleb was her savior. She did everything just to repay a debt. Why couldn't he understand her? Hiding the marriage registration was just to repay the kindness. As for the child, that was an accident. If she had asked for his consent first, she worried Caleb wouldn't have much time left to reassure his parents. She had planned to register with Caleb first, then slowly persuade Ethan. She believed he loved her and would compromise in the end. She just hadn't expected to succeed on the first try, disrupting her plan. But in the hospital, when he learned she was pregnant, he clearly showed no strong opposition. He hadn't mentioned it since. Why would he suddenly break up the day before the wedding? What Jessica didn't know was that Ethan didn't oppose it violently because he already knew. The breakup wasn't a sudden decision. The words break up had taken root in his mind 2 weeks ago. He just used those 15 days to completely burn away his feelings for her. Unreconciled, Jessica picked up her phone again and called him. The moment the call connected, her panic was replaced by anger. On the other side, after a 2-hour flight, I finally arrived in D.C. Before taking off, Sarah had messaged me saying she was worried I couldn't find the specific address, so she arranged for someone to pick me up. There were many people at arrivals. I looked back and forth, but didn't see anyone holding a sign with my name. Just as I was about to call Sarah, a cheerful shout came from behind. Ethan! I turned around and saw a girl with a sweet smile walking toward me. Excuse me, you are? She looked familiar, but I couldn't quite place her. The girl pretended to be annoyed and glared at me, but her voice held unconcealed joy. Ethan, it's only been 5 years, and you forgot your junior sister? Careful, or I'll tell the professor. 5 years ago, the red-eyed girl in the lab. The image gradually merged with the figure before me. I looked at her in surprise. You're Chloe Bennett. When I was about to graduate 5 years ago, the professor took on a new student named Chloe. I was busy with graduation matters and didn't interact much with her. My only impression was that her experiment data had issues, and she couldn't find the error. I happened to pass by and saw her red eyes. I offered to help, checking step by step until I found the problem. I hadn't expected the girl who almost cried over an experiment to change so much that I didn't recognize her. Chloe naturally walked to my side to lead the way, her tone teasing. Looks like you remember me after all. I thought 5 years wiped me from your memory. I rubbed my nose. Having been with someone cold like Jessica for so long, I momentarily didn't know how to interact with the lively Chloe. Chloe didn't mind. Seeing me walking slowly, she stepped forward and pulled my arm toward the parking lot. Let's go, Ethan. The professor has been wishing on stars and moons for you to come. We sped back to the lab. Standing in front of the professor's office, I hesitated, afraid to push the door open. Before graduation, the professor had urged me to stay. But Jessica had just agreed to be my girlfriend, and my heart was full of her, so I chose to follow her and become a teacher, declining his kindness. When the D.C. lab project launched, he called again. But Jessica and I were already living together, and I couldn't bear to leave her, so I refused again. That call really angered him. Even 2 weeks ago, it was Sarah who called. I worried the professor was still mad at me. Seeing Ethan hesitating, Chloe rolled her eyes and decided to help. She raised her voice and shouted at the office. Professor, Ethan is back. My pupils constricted. I instinctively reached out to cover Chloe's mouth, but she hadn't finished closing her mouth when my large hand covered it. Soft lips touched my warm palm. Both of us froze. I pulled my hand back as if touching a hot potato. Chloe turned her head, eyes dodging, the tips of her ears quietly turning red. While I was at a loss, the professor's voice came from inside. Well, come in already. I didn't have time to think about anything else. I adjusted my state, took a deep breath, and pushed the door open. 5 years no see. I sharply noticed the gray hair on the professor's head. Thinking of how I ignored his retention to leave with Jessica, shame welled up in my heart. Professor Sterling looked at the student he was most optimistic about, and who caused him the most regret. 1,000 words turned into a sigh. Now that you're here, focus on the experiments. I suppressed the surging emotions and nodded heavily. The professor didn't say much more, waving his hand for Chloe to take me to the dorms to drop off my stuff. As soon as I got to the dorm, I dropped my backpack and lay on the bed, letting out a comfortable sigh. I had only napped for 2 hours on the plane since last night. I was exhausted. As soon as I hit the bed, sleepiness overwhelmed me. I fell asleep before I could even unpack. I was sleeping soundly when a ringtone woke me up. I struggled to grab the phone, my brain not fully awake, and answered instinctively. Jessica's angry interrogation came from the other end. Ethan Cole, where did you go? Jessica's voice exploded in my ear, instantly waking me up. I looked at the time. I'd only been asleep for a short while. The irritability of being woken up, combined with travel fatigue, made my tone impatient. I wrote it clearly on the calendar. We broke up. Mentioning it only fueled her anger. She still hadn't figured out why. No, I didn't agree. And even if you want to break up, give me a reason. Leaving me on the wedding day with just a note? What is that? Listening closely, there was a trace of grievance in her voice. She never thought we would break up, let alone be abandoned on her wedding day. I had been by her side for years. How could I leave so suddenly? But I just wanted to go back to sleep. I didn't want to tangle with her. You're pregnant with Caleb's child. Do you think I'd make a woman carrying another man's baby my wife? Besides, I see it clearly now. You don't love me at all. Silence on the other end. I was almost asleep again when Jessica's hoarse voice came through. So, you're breaking up with me just because of the baby? I didn't answer. The baby was just the fuse that detonated our crumbling fortress of a relationship. Watching her with Caleb for the past 6 months, I realized she could be gentle, just not with me. That was the root cause. I don't agree to the breakup, she said. Tell me where you are. I want to see you. I didn't plan to see her. A breakup isn't like a marriage. It doesn't need mutual consent. Once one side decides to leave, it's over. And I believed a good ex should be like they're dead, vanish from the other's life. Let's just part ways peacefully. Leave us some dignity. I hung up before she could speak. Then I opened the call log and blocked her number. Checking my texts, I saw she had sent dozens of messages. First asking about the wedding, then asking where I was. She sent more messages today than in the past month combined. I glanced through them, then blocked her on text as well. I tossed the phone aside, pulled up the covers, and went back to sleep. Jessica stared at the phone, stunned. This was the first time he had ever hung up on her, and he hadn't explained anything clearly. She dialed again. Sorry, the number you have dialed is currently unavailable. She tried to text. A red exclamation mark appeared. Message not delivered. Her mind went blank. He blocked her? Ethan had been angry before, but never blocked her. Panic rose, followed by anger. It really was because of the child. But she had explained countless times. Caleb had cancer. He saved her life. She had to help him. Why couldn't Ethan understand? After the anger came fear. She never intended to break up, but now she didn't know where he was or how to contact him. In desperation, she thought of his best friend, Mike Ross. Ethan had taken her to Mike's place once. She found her way there from memory. When Mike opened the door, he saw a disheveled Jessica. Mike had always felt Ethan's pursuit was unworthy given her lukewarm attitude. But since hearing Ethan's reasons for canceling, his dissatisfaction peaked. He didn't understand how such an ungrateful woman existed. Seeing her at his door, he exploded. Yo, isn't it my buddy's ex who pays debts with her body? What are you doing here? Mike knew about the pregnancy, but Jessica didn't care. Where is Ethan? Mike rolled his eyes. Don't know. He moved to close the door. Jessica reached out to block it. Mike couldn't react in time. Pain shot through her hand, tears welling up. She clutched her hand but asked stubbornly, I need to know where he is. Mike swore. He really didn't get her logic. You're having another man's baby. Why do you care where my brother went? Caleb saved my life. I'm just repaying a debt. Tell me his address. I'll explain to him. Mike sneered. Dream on. I won't let you disturb him. Ethan saved your life too. I don't see you repaying him. Jessica froze. What do you mean Ethan saved my life? When did he save me? Mike hadn't expected her to forget such a major event. He felt even more disgust for the woman in front of him. You really have a short memory. How can you forget New Year's Eve 6 years ago? You didn't say a word of thanks back then, fine. But treating him like this now. The more Mike spoke, the angrier he got. He poured out everything. Ethan's silent devotion over the years and that dangerous night 6 years ago. He even showed her a photo on his phone of Ethan in the hospital back then. Jessica didn't know how she left Mike's house. She felt like her world had collapsed into darkness. In her memory, it was Caleb who saved her that night. How could it be Ethan? If Mike was right, then she had mistaken her savior for years. And she touched her lower abdomen with a trembling hand. This child shouldn't exist at all. Jessica immediately took a taxi to the hospital. She had to know the truth. On the way, she desperately recalled that night. She only remembered being followed, a man covering her mouth and dragging her into an alley, hands roaming her body, a knife at her waist. Despair. Just as she thought she was dead, a dark figure rushed in and tackled the attacker. She cowered, shaking, fainting from extreme fear before she could call the police. When she woke up, she saw Caleb. She naturally assumed he saved her. But Mike said Ethan saved her, took a knife for her, and was in a coma for 3 days. By the time he woke up, she had been discharged. Ethan told Mike not to mention it to avoid triggering her trauma. Jessica panicked. If her savior was really Ethan, what had she been doing all this time? At the hospital, Caleb was surprised to see her. Jess, aren't you getting married to Ethan today? He saw the red mark on her hand. What happened to your hand? I'll call a doctor. No need. Jessica interrupted him, her voice terrifyingly calm. Caleb, were you really the one who saved me? She stared into his eyes. Caleb panicked for a split second, but quickly regained composure. Of course. You saw me when you woke up, remember? He sounded confident, but Jessica caught that initial flicker of panic. Her heart sank. Caleb was not her savior. Caleb, the person who saved me 6 years ago wasn't you. Caleb's pupils shrank. Why was she bringing this up now? He smiled gently, trying to take her hand. Jess, what are you saying? The guilt of mistreating Ethan crashed over her. She exploded, throwing off his hand and screaming, It was Ethan. It was Ethan who stayed by my side for years. Stop lying. I have proof. Why did you lie to me? Seeing her breakdown, Caleb knew he couldn't hide it. He had just happened to be at the hospital visiting a friend, saw her pretty face, and lingered. When she woke up and mistook him for her hero, he didn't deny it. He planned to use it to date her, but then his family sent him abroad. Caleb explained frantically, Jess, I just wanted a chance to pursue you. Jessica was consumed by despair. She didn't want to hear why. She just wanted to cut ties and make amends. I'm getting an abortion. Caleb panicked. No, that's my family's last hope. Ethan already knew you were pregnant 2 weeks ago. Your wedding is canceled anyway. Why not have the baby and marry into my family? Jessica froze. 2 weeks ago, a wave of sorrow engulfed her. Ethan knew. That's why he decided to leave. That's why he was so calm. And she hadn't noticed a thing. The thought of hurting him for a fake savior caused her physical pain. She wiped her tears, eyes firm. She would abort the child, find Ethan, apologize, and make up for everything. She turned to leave. Caleb tried to stop her. Jess, after 6 months, can you say you have no feelings for me? Jessica thought of Ethan, the boy who followed her, the man who made her ginger tea. She realized she had chosen Ethan out of curiosity initially, but over 5 years of his care, she had unknowingly fallen in love with him. She looked at Caleb with cold, stranger's eyes. Never. I won't contact you again. Jessica had the surgery that day. Caleb's family came to the hospital to cause a scene, claiming she killed their heir. But Jessica's signature was on the paper. The hospital called the police, and the family was taken away. Jessica ignored them. Unwilling to lose Ethan, she went back to pester Mike. After days of her squatting at his door, Mike got annoyed and dropped a hint. He went to a lab. He's gone, but he wouldn't say which one. Jessica remembered Ethan's mentor started a new lab in D.C. She flew there immediately. Since the lockdown hadn't started, she managed to find someone to ask for Ethan. I was surprised when Chloe said someone was looking for me. Only a few people knew I was here. I walked out and found Jessica. Seeing me, her eyes heated up. She grabbed my hand. Why did you break up? Why did you leave without saying goodbye? Do you know how hard it was to find you? I was stunned and didn't pull away immediately. Seeing this, Jessica felt a bit of hope. Maybe I was just sulking. But the next second, I shook off her hand, impatient. Why are you here? Jessica panicked at my avoidance. Ethan, I came to apologize. I don't want to hear it. I cut her off. My attitude is simple. We're broken up. I don't know how you found me, but don't come back. The experiment starts tomorrow. I just want to focus. Go back. Caleb is waiting for you. Ethan, I have no feelings for Caleb. The person I love is you. Together 5 years. And this was the first time she said the word love. But 5 years of coldness had sobered me up. I didn't believe those words anymore. I glanced at her with sarcasm. Don't you find it funny saying that now? I turned and walked back into the lab. Jessica called out behind me, but I didn't look back. Jessica stayed in a nearby hotel. She thought I couldn't stay inside forever. But a week passed. She finally asked the guard, who told her the lockdown had begun. No one in or out for a year and a half. Jessica returned to Seattle in a daze. Lying in the big bed, the house felt freezing. No one to pour water, no one to leave a light on. She curled up, trying to find warmth. She dreamed the week hadn't happened. We got married, went on a honeymoon, took photos in Europe. When she woke up, she called my name. Silence. She touched her pillow. It was wet. The breakup and the mistake about her savior swirled her mind. But looking at the calendar with "Let's break up" written on it, her mind cleared. She wouldn't agree to break up. Even if it took a year and a half, she would wait. In the past, I chased her. Now, she would chase me. She would prove her heart. 2 years later, Seattle Airport. I pushed the luggage cart, smiling as I followed the bouncing figure ahead of me. The first phase of the experiment took 2 years, but the results were perfect. The professor gave us a 2-month break. It had been 2 years since I left this city. But the difference was, I looked gently at Chloe ahead. 2 years ago, I left alone. Now, I came back with someone, and we had something important to do. Chloe turned back. Ethan, hurry up or we'll be late. Mike insisted on a welcome back party. We agreed to do it the day we landed. Chloe pulled me toward the restaurant. I thought I saw a familiar figure on the stairs, but I dismissed it. On the other side, Jessica covered her mouth, tears in her eyes. 2 years. She waited 2 years. No one knew how she spent those lonely nights. She looked for traces of him everywhere, but found nothing. Only the calendar remained. She stubbornly believed that as long as she didn't agree, we weren't broken up. She wanted to explain everything. She had cut ties with Caleb. She had aborted the child. She believed that after all those years, I wouldn't let go easily. Finally, fate gave her a chance. But she saw the girl next to me. They looked close. But she heard the girl call me senior brother. Ethan, just a junior colleague. She reassured herself. She followed us. I opened the box door with Chloe. Bang! Confetti rained down. Mike punched my shoulder. 2 years and no letter. If I didn't know you were in a lab, I'd have filed a missing person report. Everyone laughed and teased. Yeah, canceling the wedding and disappearing. You owe us a drink. Chloe was nervous, never having met my childhood friends. I sensed her anxiety and held her hand. We locked eyes, and she relaxed. Looking at my friends, I was moved. But first, introductions. I cleared my throat and raised my joined hand with Chloe. Let me introduce my junior sister, Chloe Bennett. I paused. Also, my fiancée. I thought I'd be single for life after Jessica. But in the lab, Chloe walked into my heart. She was a little sun compared to Jessica's cold stone. From her, I learned what mutual love felt like. 2 months ago, on our 1-year anniversary, I proposed. We planned to marry after the project, but since we had a break, we decided to do it now. The room erupted in cheers. Sneaky guy, dating while working. When's the wedding? I want to be best man. I smiled, about to announce the date, when a trembling voice came from behind. She's your fiancée. Then what am I? Jessica stood at the door. She had even fixed her makeup in the bathroom. She had imagined many reactions. Anger, indifference. She could accept anything. But she never imagined I would have a fiancé. When she heard those words, she felt doused in ice water. She wanted to hear it was a joke, but the room was discussing godparents for our future kids. She couldn't hold it back. She pushed open the door, eyes fixed on our joined hands. I didn't care what she thought. To me, she was a stranger. Her appearance ruined the mood. What are you doing here? I asked impatiently. We broke up 2 years ago. I squeezed Chloe's hand, sensing her jealousy. Mike stood up cold. Jessica, you chose the sick guy 2 years ago. Why come find my brother now? Jessica ignored him, staring at me. Ethan, this is fake, right? You hired someone to make me jealous, right? I almost laughed. Fake? Do I need to hire an actor for you? I was confused. She used to be so cold. Doesn't care was her motto. Now she acted like a deeply devoted lover. Sorry, Chloe is the fiancée I proposed to properly. Our wedding is on the 18th. In 10 days. My words exploded in her ears. Jessica's eyes turned red. She couldn't accept it. I lost interest in engaging. I waved to everyone to move to another venue. Passing Jessica, she grabbed my shirt. I pulled it free without hesitation and walked away with Chloe. In the car, Chloe let go of my hand and crossed her arms. Oomph. I laughed. Jealous. It was the first time a girl was jealous over me. I remember trying to make Jessica jealous once. She had just said, I don't care. I hugged Chloe. Don't be mad. You're going to be a bride. Frowning causes wrinkles. Chloe blushed. Are you calling me ugly? No. You're the most beautiful woman in the world. The car filled with laughter. After dropping Chloe off, I went home. Surprisingly, Jessica was sitting on the sofa. My parents looked troubled. They didn't know the real reason I canceled the wedding. They felt guilty toward Jessica. For 2 years, she visited constantly. They were moved by her persistence. They thought maybe we could patch things up. Jessica's eyes lit up when I entered. I had a headache. My parents pulled me aside and explained. I wouldn't have believed she looked for me for 2 years if they hadn't said it. But with the wedding coming up, I had to resolve this. We sat down face to face. Say what you need to say, I said flatly. Jessica looked hurt. Ethan, do we have to be strangers? I tapped the table. You have one chance. Was it because of Caleb? She got agitated. I can explain. I thought he was my savior. I had no feelings for him. After you left, I found out that on New Year's Eve 6 years ago, the person who saved me was you. I mistook him for you. Jessica looked at me with tears, regret, and a hidden expectation of forgiveness. I was surprised she finally knew. Fate really likes to play jokes. But even so, Ethan, I didn't have that baby. Now that I know the truth, can we go back to how we were? I shook my head without hesitation. Impossible. Jessica's face went pale. Why? I love you. I smiled sarcastically. You really think you love me? If you love me, why no birthday gifts? Why no travel? Why get pregnant by another man and take wedding photos with him? My heart is made of flesh, Jessica. It hurts too. If that's your love, I can't afford it. Every word drained color from her face. She couldn't refute a single thing. I just mistook him. She mumbled. Enough. I interrupted. You think the problem is just Caleb? Without Caleb, there would be someone else. Even if he was your savior, there are a million ways to repay him. Why give yourself? You just can't handle that the dog that followed you for 5 years finally ran away. Stop looking for me. Let's end this decently. I asked her to leave. Jessica went back to her empty house. Was it just unwillingness? She recalled the day we started dating. My blushing face. My secret victory sign. She realized I had sustained a relationship alone for 5 years. She had ignored my pain. Why did she have to ask for forgiveness? I slept well that night. The next morning, I went to pick up the rings. Because the break was short, we planned a month-long honeymoon after the wedding. The schedule was tight. I walked out of the jewelry store, admiring the gold bracelet for Chloe. I didn't notice 2 men following me. At a corner, a shadow rushed out and snatched the bag. I instinctively chased. Suddenly, a sound, a knife plunging into flesh. But no pain. I turned. Jessica stood behind me, clutching her stomach, face pale. Blood seeped through her fingers. She collapsed. I caught her, dialing 911 with my other hand. Hold on, Jessica. Don't sleep. Is it worth it? I asked, voice trembling. She smiled weakly. Worth it? It must have hurt this much when you saved me. She passed out. After 3 hours of surgery, she stabilized. The knife missed vital organs. Her parents arrived, furious. What do you want from her? 2 years ago you left. Now you put her in the hospital. I took their anger silently. She had saved me. Ethan, a weak voice called. Her parents let us talk. I didn't follow you to stalk you, she whispered. I thought about what you said. I regret it. I just wanted to tell you that. Then I saw the robber. I never expected to hear this from her. If it were years ago, I'd be moved. Now, Only gratitude remained. If there was no Caleb, would we have made it? She asked. I shook my head. No. Caleb was just the catalyst. Our marriage would have ended in divorce anyway. I was glad we ended it early. Can I see your fiancé? I was stunned but agreed. Chloe came. I left them alone. When I returned, Jessica seemed peaceful. Instead of obsession, she had acceptance. I visited her every other day. Before the wedding, I went one last time. Can I come to the wedding? She asked. I agreed and sent an invitation. The wedding day, guests filled the venue. Professor Sterling patted my shoulder. Lucky kid. I looked at Chloe in her white dress. My heart was full. This was love. The ceremony began. Chloe's father handed her hand to me. I give her to you. I will protect her with my life. Vows, rings, quiche. Applause erupted. In the corner, Jessica watched, tears falling. She remembered the wedding I had planned for us. It must have hurt me so much to cancel it. She closed her eyes. After the wedding, Mike handed me a letter. Jessica gave this to me. She left. I opened it. Ethan, I haven't completely let you go, but I know we are impossible now. You were right. Life must go on. The 5 years with you were the happiest of my life. Forgive my cowardice in not saying this in person. I wish you and Chloe happiness. I put the letter aside and went to find my bride. I had my new life. Jessica needed to find hers. The past is dead. The future is born. Story complete.